So before we get into the heart of today's video, which is going to be about Owen Jones's remarkable intellectual bankruptcy, I thought I'd take the opportunity to shill 2 streams I did last week. The first was on the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends show linked below. It was a political stream with Trups. As Parliament's in recess, I'm kind of having to do news coverage of sorts. I might cover parliamentary process though, and the monarch's power. The second was a stream I did on Friday, which was me playing Vermintide 2 again, and coming so close to completion before the game crashed right on the kill. Wait, the game froze. Has it frozen on everyone else's screen?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, are you kidding me? I haven't stopped streaming if anyone's still listening. Oh, that is absolutely painful. Not even a joke. I think I cried a little. Links to both are in the description. Now, as I stated a moment ago, we're going to be covering Owen Jones, who's written an article for The Guardian called "The Far Right is at its strongest since the 1930s and the media isn't helping," which is either an admission of guilt, or more than likely, his distorted perception and poutiness. Owen Jones is, after all, when challenged on his ideas, the man that would walk off a stage.
I've had enough of this. I'm going home.
Owen, genuinely, we're trying to have a civilised conversation. I know you're upset. You're upset,
I am,
and you're.
I'm very upset.
I'm
Very
quite
upset.
right. Everyone's upset and angry about this, but storming off a TV set.
Yup. Way to defend your ideas. Glad to see they stacked up to intellectual scrutiny. So, the far right is on the march. Probably because no one's actually challenging them on any intellectual level. And I mean in the context that if their ideas don't stack up to any level of merit or scrutiny, you should surely then be able to debunk them, but you're not. People like you don't do that. You instead character assassinate, like the tossers that did last week when I did the video on Corbyn and other Labour members that displayed some little glimmers of anti-Semitism. Yes. And it is being legitimised and enabled by parts of the mainstream media. Hashtag not all then. The shambolic interview of Raheem Kassam, sidekick to Steve Bannon and Nigel Farage by the BBC's flagship Today programme, was a striking case in point. It's interesting you mentioned the BBC because, and I'm going to play a clip from a Sargon of Akkad video from his livestream channel, where they actually talked about the BBC and their bias.
Notice that my my interview on the street with Benjamin Zand didn't make it into any of the BBC programs they made, did they?
No.
Not one excerpt from my...
They pick out the toothless crazy guys with weird hats and fancy dress people, and that's what goes in the edit.
Yeah, but when
even when they went to this Trump party at this pub, there were other people who, you know, could lay out cogent arguments for what they believed in. None of them were in it. So yeah.
Of course, I love the way he was like, the BBC doesn't have a bias. Come on, you know, pull the other one. The BBC, I mean, like, every day the BBC puts out a new article about gender expression and about, you know, like, far left politics.
They did, I think they did a study of Brexit guests on BBC, and it was literally like 20, 30 to 1 Leave versus Remain. Given that 52% of the country is Leave, not quite balanced there, is it?
Not exactly representative, is it? Yeah.
But you've also got Radio 4. All they talk about is refugees, virtue signalling, Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
Lost 800,000 viewers.
Really?
People aren't buying this. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Even Sky News and LBC, these kind of more, you know, they're to the right of the BBC. Complete BS. Sky News is the most virtue signalling news organisation imaginable. You go on their app, on their homepage every day, like sometimes the top 3 stories are complete virtue signalling. They report quotes from Remainers about doomsday Brexit scenarios as a headline, not even making it clear that it's a quote from somebody with a biased agenda.
Brexit, I mean, this, unironically...
Super gonorrhea, whatever.
Unironically, I've got a video planned for this next week because it's just the best. Yeah, we're not going to have any sandwiches. We're all going to have gonorrhea.
Like they've already topped out. Cameron said literally there would be World War III if we voted Brexit.
Yeah.
They can't. How much higher can they go?
What worse can happen to us than having a VD?
Incredible.
They're desperate. They're really desperate.
Their bias is renowned. During the Brexit campaign, they rarely had any people that wanted Brexit on the show, and the only time they did show someone that did vote Brexit, they chose those people that best exemplified the remarkable stupidity of normies, instead of showing those that actually bothered to make an informed decision, thereby making the 52% look like what could be described as the 0.01%. Academic background is not an indicator of intelligence, by the way. It is, however, an indicator of someone honing a skill, craft, and specializing in a specific area of intelligence, so they're not entirely the smartest person in the room. We're not all Spinosaurus-kin after all. Oh, and to just cement my belief that the BBC is biased, not just because of what Sargon says and Paul Joseph Watson, but Jacob Rees-Mogg even said this on Question Time, where he indicated that the BBC's bias during Brexit was remarkable.
And the BBC? Dear old auntie. The BBC, how many times have we heard in spite of Brexit? In spite of Brexit, a record 3 million jobs have been created since 2010. In spite of Brexit, unemployment is its lowest level since 1975. Kind of in spite of Brexit, England defeated the West Indies at Lord's. I mean, it is again and again. And
have you? Can you actually specify an occasion when you've heard that? You say that, but have you actually? Can you pin? Have you got a quotation?
I've got some other quotations.
Now, have you got a quotation saying "in spite of Brexit"?
Well, you just have to listen to the news.
Well, that's a generalisation. Have you got a specific?
No, I think anyone who's listened to the news recently has heard the "in spite of Brexit" terminology, and I think the audience knows that. Well, yes, the audience seems to agree.
This champion of Stephen Yaxley Lennon, Tommy Robinson, a man whose convictions include fraud, assault, and contempt of court, was allowed to present himself as a legal expert. Well, I guess if you've gone through the criminal justice system enough times, you kind of know the ins and outs. His link to the far-right Breitbart website was not mentioned. So, does Breitbart still exist? It says a lot, really. You've yet to actually prove that the far-right are on the rise. His claim that there was nothing far-right about us was not challenged, despite his sympathy for banning Muslim immigration. Maybe it wasn't about challenging him. You see, Remee Millennial did this with... Oh, what's that alt-right faggot called? The one who got punched. Dick Spencer? Dick. Yes, Dick. Where she didn't really challenge him too much, and was called out on it by Theron Meyer.
I'm not on board with what he's saying, just BT dubs. Throwing that out there.
Well, maybe Remee Millennial, maybe you should do a little bit more work speaking out against people like that. Maybe when you have people like Richard Spencer on your channel, don't just sit there and go, oh, that's nice, that's so interesting.
It was an interview.
Maybe you should, no, but you still have a responsibility as an interviewer.
Now, Remee Millennial didn't have to challenge him at all. All she had to do was ask the right questions, so he would provide the answers that then got you thinking. It was more about stimulating your mind rather than challenging him. So when his ideas were then laid out, you could then scrutinize them, which is the whole point of an interview, not some kind of disciplinary board. You're a white man, you can't say this. You can't want ethno-state. Yeah, stuff. Do you see how ludicrous this all is? Despite his sympathy for banning Muslim immigration, I'm okay with this. Evidence is showing certain facts that are quite hard for some to swallow, or his response to Sheffield's Lord Mayor banning Donald Trump from the city, because that'll hold up, and because Donald Trump would want to go to Sheffield. No offence to any of you that actually live in Sheffield that are watching this video, but Sheffield, like the rest of the United Kingdom, is Haiti. What is it with these Muslim mayors that as soon as they get power they start acting like fascists? Oh right, yeah, sorry, that's Islam. That's a good quote. There was no attempt to refute his farcical claim that the Mussolini-praising Bannon was a Kennedy Democrat. His past vile statements were not put to him like, can someone just tape Nicola Sturgeon's mouth shut and her legs so she can't reproduce? Thanks. I don't support the latter, but the former one, yes. It would be nice if she'd stop talking, because she has quite the mouth. Certainly when it comes to Scotland's place within the single market. I know I don't have a very good Scottish accent, but that's because I'm better than them. Sorry, Tail. His repeated use of the term cultural Marxism. This does get used a lot, and I know Kevin Logan of all people, he has pointed out with a number of right-leaning content creators. Oh, what's that one called? Rocker something? Kevin Logan did a Manosphere video on this guy, and the guy used cultural Marxist in every single video. It was quite alarming. A far-right trope with anti-Semitic roots or description of trans people as trannies was not mentioned. To be fair, there are a number of right-leaning or centre-left-leaning that you would consider right-leaning content creators that are themselves trans, that are okay with the word tranny. In fact, I don't know any tranny myself that isn't okay with a non-tranny using the term tranny, because they've decided, rather than allow it to be something people are banned from saying because they're not one of them, you know, like that nigger word. It shouldn't be something people should be afraid to say. It should be a word that people embrace and simply get on with it. It shouldn't be protected. Just own it and move on. The interview was a travesty, another step further down the road of far-right normalisation. I would argue that it's about normalising discussion, and if these ideas don't stack up, certainly things they say don't stack up, then it is down to you then to make your own informed decision on it, not for an interrogation to then take place. Now yes, there are some presenters that do this, and they are very good at it. Someone like Jeremy Paxman, for example. He's fantastic at destroying people. I've seen him do it. It's astonishing.
Is this some sort of joke? I mean, how can you possibly have as a number one priority cutting the deficit when you choose to spend and underspend in funding a tax cut? Do you ever wake up in the morning and think, my God, what am I going to be told today?
I'm American badass, watch me kick. You can roll with rock or you can suck my dick. I'm a porno flick, I'm like Amazing Grace. I'm gonna fuck some hoes after I rock this place.
He is someone that has been a Labour supporter for a very long time. Not too sure he's that comfortable with the current Labour Party. He wasn't that comfortable when Ed Miliband was in charge either, because those particular policies do not work. And also the identitarian crap just doesn't float with people. Certainly as you get older, we just don't care. Now, I will agree, some of the crap this guy said in the interview, because I did bother to watch it, was trash. Absolutely. But that's the benefit of being able to watch it and then go and dig into it. A lot of people aren't going to do that. This isn't about normalising the far right. It's about giving them a platform so that their ideas can be scrutinised and summarily rejected if they don't stack up. Which is the whole point, something which I know you don't like doing, that's having your ideas challenged. You're quite happy to block people when they disagree with you, and it is well established you are quite sensitive to certain words that are deemed slurs. You discussed the free speech and absolute free speech and consequence-related positions with Jonathan Pye. While an illuminating discussion, there were gaps in your mind that we could all see. It's not just the BBC, of course. Piers Morgan, a preening disgraced former newspaper editor reinvented as a fawning cheerleader for the Nazi condoning alleged sexual predator in the White House, conducted a toadying interview with Bannon on ITV. By way of contrast, Morgan hectored and shouted over left-wing Muslim writer Ash Sarkar. And to give a little context, the reason he got into a fiery debate with Ash Sarkar, and it was that, a fiery debate, was because of the desire to protest Donald Trump's state visit, of which most of her ideas were absolute bollocks. So Pierce called her out on it, and maybe he should call out Bannon more often. But again, and this is going to further prove the point that when people go on to do debates or write articles and they don't stack up to intellectual scrutiny, they should be called out on it. I took the liberty of watching the 22-minute discussion on Good Morning Britain with Steve Bannon, Susanna Reid and Piers Morgan, where they talked about then-candidate Trump's campaign, how Bannon came in 8 days before it ended and mapped out the road to victory by campaigning in states that the Democrats didn't, and by putting across a populist message. This is a vastly different subject, and not the same as debating a reason for going to a protest. Susanna Reid, by the way, did in fact try to question on the whole populism element, because that's what Trump is after all. He wants to get back sovereign rights. He wants to ban illegal immigration and take back jobs from China, and that is a quote, by the way, from the very GMB interview, which I will link below if you're interested. You won't be able to comment on it because Good Morning Britain disabled comments because they're faggots, and not the good kind that are edible. They're the horrible kind that you get on a plate. LBC allowed Farage, a personal friend of Trump, to softball interview ex-Trump aide Bannon. He used the slot to call for Middle England to rise up and declare this a war. The reality is that the broadcast media more aggressively interrogates the opposition and its allies than does its fascists. How is Nigel Farage? How is any of these people actually mentioned so far a fascist? Or is this one of those things where they're crypto-fascist now? I don't even know what that is, but I've heard Spineless Foreskin mention it. Honestly, the word fascist has lost all meaning. There are a number of words over the years that are buzzwords, and they get used so much. It was like when people kept saying, "That's an ad hominem attack." Okay, now what? You're not criticising them, you're just pigeonholing them. You're not addressing their arguments. You are, and you in this instance have done it, with your intellectual bankruptcy. You have portrayed something in a certain light, but when I've investigated it, it has come up as absolute nonsense on your part. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're trying to put forward a message that the right is on the rise, while writing an article unironically for a remarkably left-leaning outlet. Are you this deluded? Then there's the utter failure of the BBC and other broadcasters to scrutinise the growing influence of the far right. Where are the national headlines about Bannon allegedly liaising with key Tory figures such as Boris Johnson, Michael Gove and Jacob Rees-Mogg? They are not far right. They are on the right. You intellectually stunted man-child. Where are the questions over US funding being ploughed into the rising British far right? Where people put their money is their business. Unless it's government funding, then nobody cares. And the right is on the rise because, as I stated at the start, you are not challenging their ideas. You're calling them fascists and writing, well, this, drivel. This is pretty bad even by your standards. I would argue this article is as bad as, well, as Mr. Brain's faggots. I'm going to skip to the final paragraph because I don't want this video to run for too long. The ascendant far right is, in part, the creation of a right-wing press that has spent years spewing venom about Muslims and immigrants, all of which supported by terrorist attacks, and the lack of interest in fully integrating, proven by a number of continental European countries and Scandinavian countries that have become Islam and rape capitals for the world. Congratulations. You virtue signal so damn much that you ignore the indigenous people who suffered. The evidence has been damning, and while you want to say they are isolated instances, or isolated incidents, they have stacked up. They have a death count, they have a rape count, and it is all unacceptable. Farage would be nothing without the BBC. That's bollocks. Academic research suggests media coverage drove support for UKIP. It probably did, because they were trying to find a way to stump him, which would then lead to him arguing with them, which would then lead to the multitude of compilation videos Can't Barrage the Farage, link in the description. With Tommy Robinson out of prison, rightly so, the far right has its Oswald Mosley figure and is at its strongest. Sargon said in the video he did with Paul Joseph Watson that Tommy Robinson has become this lightning bolt, and he is. I'm going to link that below because I think the way he explains it is far better than I ever could, and I can't be bothered to use OBS again to copy that little piece to make this one little point. He has become almost a spear tip for free speech, whether you like that or not. That's what he stands for. You, though, because of his origins, only see that. And yet, while you're busy calling him a racist, even though there are many, many, many videos lingering around of him hanging about with his friends that are mostly black, such a massive racist. I'm guessing they're all Uncle Toms to you, right? If significant parts of the media continue to normalise and mainstream the far-right menace, it's up to the rest of us to defeat it. How? I assume with authoritarianism and, I don't know, throwing your toys out of the pram? Because I think that's about as creative as you can get, without introducing some kind of thought police and authoritarianism. Owen Jones, you are dishonest. Owen Jones, you are intellectually bankrupt. Owen Jones, you're not even worthy of the name faggot. I reserve that for Irate Bear, who I believe tweeted this very article. Thanks, Bear. So anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely Sunday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your ass.
Imagine my shock